Hello, welcome to another episode of your Comfort Sisters Diary. Welcome to another episode, and this is the third episode. If you guys are new here, my name is Ayat, and this is my second channel where I post podcast episodes every single week. So this episode is going to be a bit different, as you can tell by the background. This topic is actually not going to be as lighthearted as the other topics. Not saying the other topics aren't as meaningful, because the other topics are really meaningful, but because this is really a topic that has just really heavy, and that is the reason why that I just decided to change up the scenery, and there won't be any jokes or anything inside this episode. I really wanted to talk about this because a year ago today was when a fire happened in my uni accommodation. I have not told anybody except for my close friends and my parents and my sister. So even my extended family do not know about this. So if you're watching this and you are one of my friends or one of my extended family, I didn't tell you because I didn't want you guys to worry about me. I'm going to tell you how it happened, but I'm also going to be blunt and tell you where it happened as well. You guys do really need to know about this accommodation and how much they prioritize the people who actually live there. So the accommodation that I stayed at was Uni House. So Uni House Courts was one of their places that they lend students to live in flats, in just like buildings of flats. And the maintenance wasn't amazing, I would say, because you would report something and they would take like a couple of days to come and check the place out, and it didn't really seem that they were like so knowledgeable about things. The cleaning service was okay, I guess. The place was just pretty decent, I would say. It's pretty decent, it's a pretty decent place. It's not like the flats they don't have like a cozy vibe, I would say. Yeah, I feel like the layout is pretty similar to Oakbrook. Student, and you're listening to this and you're in University of Birmingham and you're staying at Oakbrook, the layout is very similar to Uni House Courts. The week before the 20th of November was when I started smelling this like fishy smell. It was really strong, and it was only in my bedroom. I initially thought it was actually in the kitchen. I thought my friend was making fish. And then when I went into the kitchen, it wasn't really there. So I was like, what is happening? And I was like, inshallah, it'll go away. And I remember going down to the manager of Uni House Courts. It wasn't the manager of the actual company, but he was the head of Uni House Courts. And I remember telling him, and he said he'll send a maintenance guy up to my place. And the maintenance guy, when he came up to my place, when he checked the bathroom, because it was coming from the bathroom basically, and when I was having a shower, the water was smelling weird, and I thought it was my body wash, but it was the water. So the maintenance guy thought it was just the water, and the water just did not, smell nice. And he poured bleach down into my shower, the toilet, and the sink. And that's literally what he did. Yeah, he just poured it down, and that was it. So a couple of days afterwards, I came back from a run, and I just hopped in the shower, and it was 4:30. And I remember I was just like, I put shampoo in my hair, and the shower just turned off. And I was just standing there, just like trying to like turn the shower back on again, and it just wouldn't turn on. I was like, okay, what is happening? So where I was standing, you could not see this. If I decided not to get out of the shower, I wouldn't have seen what was big black bits just coming out from above the door, and it was a lot of smoke coming out. So as soon as I saw that, I got out of the shower and obviously, I put my clothes on. I did not have enough time to put my hijab on. But if I did not see that smoke, if I did not look out, then the fire would have gone around the door. I wouldn't have been able to get it out of the bathroom, basically. With their fire alarm, they say it is actually, the fire alarm is pretty standard for that. But I literally, when I went into my bedroom part, because you have en suites basically. So I went into my bedroom part and I saw the fire. Like I literally saw the fire. It came from the fuse switch above the door. So the fire was happening, but it needed loads of smoke for the fire alarm to go off. Loads of smoke. I'm thinking like, what the? I got out because I saw it happen. But if I didn't see the smoke, because you wouldn't be able to see it from the shower, then you wouldn't have seen it. So I didn't have enough time to grab my hijab and I went out, and then my friends, my flatmates, just came out with me and brought me to the office. And I was in complete shock. I didn't have enough time to grab my hijab. And yeah, the fire ambulance came and they basically took the fire out, and I couldn't get back into my bedroom. I couldn't get back into my bedroom that night, and like all my clothes were like covered in smoke. So me and my friend had to go up to Sainsbury's, which is close by, and get clothes and all the necessities. They moved me into a studio on Bristol Road. They moved me to that because there was an empty one where the person who rented that studio, they were to come in January. So I had, because it was November, I had like a month to be in that studio. That studio was actually pretty nice. It was like a hotel vibe. But I remember like that night when I was like brought over there, I just developed the fear of being in a shower. Anyway, that night, I had a shower in the studio, and I stayed in the studio for a month. So, I had to move all my stuff from my old accommodation, from that flat to the studio. And, that night, the night that happened, my flatmates had to go back to their rooms. Like, they weren't accommodated to any other room. That flat was full of smoke. It was full of smoke to the point that my friend were like, are we gonna die sleeping in here? That is just so annoying that they did not accommodate my flatmates as well. Me having to move all my stuff to the studio, that took time. That took a lot of time. Washing the stuff, that took a lot of time. And I was literally in my third year. I was in my third year of uni. On top of that, you may be questioning, you may not be questioning. What about your family? Yeah, how did your family feel when they found out about this? I remember calling my mom, being like, a fire happened, and it took her a while for her to like understand what was happening. Well, she never understood what happened, but it took her a while to realize what happened. My dad was sick to the point that he actually did have to go to the hospital a couple of times. Because that was happening, my situation was pushed to the side. I remember not too long after that happened, I came back home for the holidays because it was the December holidays, and I was home for the month. And I had the most difficult time ever. Like, I literally struggled so much with my work, with my uni work, with having to be looked after, because when you go through such a shocking experience of a fire happening in your uni accommodation, in a place that you feel that you should be safe alone, you are a student, you're choosing a place to sleep in, and that exact place, a fire happens. that happening and me coming home to my safe space did not feel like a safe space anymore because nobody paid attention to me. Like nobody. And I understand why, because they were focusing on my dad and my dad was really ill. But that did not make any excuse for not accommodating to me and not making sure that I was okay. I felt so alone and so isolated. What am I doing? What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? I just really felt neglected during that time. And my family was also coming over to see my dad as well. So that did not make it any better because I had to put on this act and pretend that everything was okay on my side. Like everything was okay with me. Uni work was going fine, but in actual reality, it just was not going fine. I was just not being able to put as much effort into my uni work as I would have liked to. And I guess that's why I always beat myself up over the fact that I could have done better, because if I went back in time, I would have just tried my hardest, maybe just stayed at uni and tried to do better in uni during that period. And obviously I was having such a difficult time during that period, but I felt like being here just made it even worse. So maybe if I was by myself, I think I would have been better. Yeah. So I was in the new studio for a month, and then they moved me over to another studio because that person moved in to the studio and I couldn't stay in that studio anymore. So when they moved me into another studio, that took time to move all my stuff in. Alhamdulillah, that time my mom was able to move my stuff in with me, and my dad was also there to help me as well because that time my dad got better, alhamdulillah. And that was around like January time. I was able to slowly adjust and slowly get comfortable with being in a new accommodation. It was actually really nice and the format was really nice and it felt like a one room flat basically. So it was really nice. I really liked it and I would do anything to actually go back to that studio. It literally felt like my own place where I could just be and do my stuff, and it was such a nice place. But that being said, that all of this shouldn't have happened. It wasn't nothing that I did, but it was literally the safety of that accommodation. I didn't end up suing them in the end. I really wanted to sue them because I did actually get quite depressed because of it and I got really anxious. After the fire, I developed the fear of actually just like where of placing like electrical items and stuff. I was scared of just like where if like a fire were to happen again. But yeah, I just I just became more anxious and I would also go to sleep very late. I would go to sleep very late because what was happening was I would go sleep late and people would wake up at 5 a.m. So I would know that okay, I stayed awake, no fire happened. People wake up at 5 a.m. They would know if a fire were to happen or not. So just I was very anxious of another fire happening again. Before I moved into this new studio, the last studio, the third studio, the management, of Uni House Courts, he I tried to reach out to him, but then he ended up blaming me on me not reaching out to him. And it's just kind of annoying at that part because I did try to reach out, and whenever he emailed me, I replied back to him. So that's just one thing to add in. Having to do with that in my third year, it was my second semester of third year as well. So I did pretty much struggle in that sense. And what really hurt me is that nobody ever understood about the fire. Everyone thought that it was okay for me to move back into uni house courts. I really hope that whoever's watching, like if you're watching and you're able to understand that if you see a fire happening inside a room, yet you would not like to sleep in the room or in a room similar to that. Like you would not want to, because that just develops your fear out of it. They gave me the option of moving back into the room, but I was like, no, I don't want to move back into the room. I literally could not have showers unless I played something in the background like the Quran. Yes, you can play the Quran while you're having a shower, as long as you know. I played it outside my bedroom, basically, like outside my bed, outside the bathroom, not right outside, but just kind of like a distance away. That really had a really big impact on my mental health. I did get therapy, but the therapy didn't really help. But the reason why I didn't sue them was because I felt like I wouldn't have been able to sue them because we don't have so much evidence to show that it was that bad to sue them. So that's why I'm really hoping that this video does come across and does be able to reach out to people and to make it public that this is not okay. What's happened is just not okay. Um, it should be, everyone should be aware that uni house courts, this happened in uni house courts, and it's like they just brushed it under the carpet that this has happened, a fire has happened, nobody's really gonna know about it. It's just a small thing, that's it. But it's not. It's not. So I really hope this video does reach to people in University of Birmingham. It shouldn't be something that is pushed away. Alhamdulillah, I'm really glad that I'm safe and nothing bad has happened to me. And Alhamdulillah, to looking at the positive side of things, I wouldn't have developed my character. I don't really tell people a lot of stuff anymore. I think I used to tell people stuff that I'm doing and stuff like that. Or just the thing of being boasty, basically. I wasn't boasty before, but I feel like I was more of the confident, being like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm just telling people, kind of like showing off in a sense. I don't really do that anymore. And on top of that, I actually started going to the gym. I started going to the gym when with my friend, with my gym buddy. I remember when I was in my first year, and one of my friends actually lived in a studio, and I remember saying to my other friends, being like, I really want to see a studio. It would be so cool to live in a studio. And I ended up living in a studio, and not only a simple room with a bed and other necessities. It was literally a one bedroom flat. So I did actually get some good things out of the fire that happened. I just really wanted to share this video as awareness, and to really just to show people that if anything has, this bad has happened in your uni accommodation, that you're not alone. I really hope that this video has allowed you to be able to relate, because you never really understand how it feels until you actually experience it yourself. No matter how many times I tell my friends and family about what has happened, how I felt, I feel like they're always going to look at it as not a major thing. And I'm that kind of person that doesn't really cry about things. I remember I literally cried so much not too long after, a couple of days after it happened. But I'm not that kind of person that would just cry when I talk about it, or show signs that I'm anxious about it. So that would also make it as if it's not a big thing. In my journal was, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Al-Alim, the all-knowing, and he knew that this was going to happen, and he knows how I feel inside. Instead of me just wishing and hoping that my friends and family understand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands, and that is all we need. I need to go and talk to him and ask for help and ask for support on how I can handle this situation. I would never truly know the reason why all of this has happened, whether it was because it was a punishment or a blessing in disguise, but I ended up really making the most of my final year. Despite this all happening, I did make the most of this the rest of my final year, and I didn't really stop this fire incident from making my third year end on a good note. So yeah, this is the end of this episode.